today we have an honored guest from America. This is Claire Dorothy, and she's going to talk at the topic of spirit work. So give her a warm applause to the stage. Oh, you have something on the computer?
Yes. It was on the internet.
Internet.
Oh, thank you very much.
There we go.
Well, it's always a wonderful feeling to be back in Stockholm. This is my third visit to Stockholm. I came like a thief in the night last winter. Many of you didn't even know I was here. I literally was overnight. Tim picked me up at the airport. I came to the church for the evening and met with several people, and I was dropped off at the airport the next day. So I guess this must be perfection stage. I would like to briefly give you a little report. Many of you were very generous to support my nonprofit foundation, the Kingmaker, and I'm so grateful to see our sister from Malmo, because she attended the miraculous one in Copenhagen, where, as I explained, there was an anonymous donor. Maybe she can help me figure out who it was, or maybe I'll never know till the spirit world, who made this ministry really possible. It just washed away all my doubts and questions, and I knew that God was behind this. We do have a website, and you can visit it any time. It's called KingmakerFoundation.org. Okay, let me put this down a minute. And many of you were inspired. What did I do? I need some tech help. Can I close this maybe? Holy Songs? Oh, there we go. The KingmakerFoundation.org. And many of you might know Margaret Mead. She was a famous anthropologist. She said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." So we're a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens. And I love that quote because it reminds me that we can change the world, even if though we're not great in numbers. We have some powerful ideas behind us. We have been very well tutored, and we do have the tools that we need to really change the world. So I'd like to show you specifically some of our projects. As you know, I mentioned the digging the wells, the solar lanterns, the schools that we support in Haiti. But specifically, many people got excited over the little shoe, the shoe that grows. And I'm happy to report that we have distributed the shoe in 3 countries. In Haiti, you can see the children's little feet with the shoe. And this, many of you donated so that we could distribute these shoes. The shoe changes 5 sizes. It expands on the side. You see it has, I don't know if you can get a good look, but it's got Velcro. And then the toe comes down, and the back opens up. And it's a brilliant solution for developing countries, because the child can wear the shoe until he's for 5 sizes. And it's really tough, so it doesn't wear out. We continue with the school supplies, and a recent project that we started last year is a library in Haiti. And this is my passion. I love books. And we've been able to get many donated books from France. And this year, I was able to purchase brand new books. I was able to go into the bookstore in Paris with a long list, and I could buy everything on the list except 2 that they didn't have. And almost 1,000 euros of books were on their way to Haiti. So that we're close to 1,000 volumes, and now we have started to partner with a nonprofit foundation in Paris that will give us all the books we can carry away. Now, you see this green building. We were able to complete a youth center. The Haitian church built this with the assistance of the Japanese Women's Federation for World Peace. And we were able to offer the paint inside and out, the windows, and the tables and chairs. And this is where the library is. It's in the youth center. we continue with the wells, and our first project were the solar lanterns. And this is our national leader's daughter. And they had no electricity for a week, and it was exam time. So she was able to study for her exams. And she was supposed to spend the summer with me to learn English, but she is the national chess champion in her age group, and she won a trip to Taiwan to be in the international finals. So I guess she'll have to wait to visit me next year. And then we continue to support the Women's Literacy School. This is a project of the Japanese Women's Federation for World Peace. And the Kingmaker Foundation every year supplies school supplies, and we've recently added reading glasses because it became apparent that many women were struggling to learn to read because they couldn't see. So we are able to buy inexpensive reading glasses in the U.S. and ship them in bulk. We are in partnership with the Haitian Church, building a new school. And this school will serve children during the day and adults at night. Haiti still has about a 40% illiteracy rate. So this is the number one step to overcoming poverty is education. And these, you see these children, unfortunately you can't see the shoes. Maybe if I click on the picture. That's a little better, okay. This is in Malawi. Our webmaster needs a little help, I think. But you can see some of the children wearing the shoes. Each child got a pair of shoes, a pair of socks, and a bag. And this distribution was in partnership with a second gen who started her own nonprofit in Malawi called Backpacks for Africa. And it was quite a miraculous story. I was doing a fundraiser at a church in my town where the American children decorated these bags. So the children were so excited, oh, that's my bag. And they could actually see the child who got the shoes. So it was very personal. They could see the face of the child that got their bag. And I announced at the church that we were having a fundraiser. You're welcome to come and decorate a bag, bring your children, bring your grandchildren. And these shoes will go to Malawi, which is the poorest country in the world. And after the service, a very elegant lady came up to me, an American lady, and said, oh, I live in Malawi. And she said, my husband is the bureau chief for U.S. aid. That's the foreign aid from the U.S. government. And we're home on home leave. And we went to the coffee hour and began to chat. And she said, oh, we'll take the shoes back for you in our diplomatic, luggage. So God is working in miraculous ways. And this couple, they are from Norfolk, which is a small town. They had intended to go to church at another church, and they got the time confused. So they ended up at the church that I was in, and it turns out that this young lady, the second gen who runs Backpacks for Africa, she's been trying to meet this man for 2 or 3 years. So God is really working in amazing ways. And through my fundraiser at this little neighborhood church, she wasn't the only one. That man wanted to meet the priest at that church. It was an old family friend, and that was on his list of things to do while they were on their home leave. He didn't know if the man was still living. He's an elderly man, and he said, I'm going to try to find him. And when he walked into the church, which was the plan B, there was the priest he was looking for. So it's amazing how God is working, and I thought you would like to see where your donations went. We have our website is very basic, as you can see, but if you'd like to donate, we have PayPal. I know Sweden is a cashless society, but you can donate anytime. Just go to our website, and it shows you what a small donation can do. $10, that's like 100 krona, right? That can give 2 women reading glasses. Or $20 buys a brand new book for our library, including the shipping. And the shoes have gone up. The shoes have been redesigned, and they're now $20 a pair instead of $15. And they, we also have to allow for the shipping, and unfortunately, we usually have to pay tax in Haiti. So thank you. I wanted you to see your investment has paid off very nicely, and many children have shoes because of you. And please, I welcome your continuing support. And most of our budget comes from ordinary people giving a little bit, but on a regular basis. If you think of a snowstorm, it's just many, many little snowflakes, but it can paralyze a big city. Or a flood is just lots of raindrops. So never think, as Margaret Mead said, that you can't do much, because we can all do a little. Mother Teresa said, we can't all do big things or great things, but we can all do small things with great love. So I encourage you in your local projects here, never think that there are not enough of you, because one person can do so much. And when 2 or 3 are gathered, as Jesus said, he's in the midst. So God will empower you, and whatever your goals are on a local level, it's very important that you believe that you will realize them. Many times we cancel things out with our lack of faith or our fear. Today I'm going to be speaking about the spirit world, and we are all spirits. Everyone here is a spiritual being. We are made in the image and likeness of God. We are a spark of an aspect of God, like we're one cell in God's body. And somehow, many years ago, an event happened. We refer to it as the fall of man. It's in the Bible. And we forgot who we are. But those of you who are familiar with the pledge, we say we're patriots in the nation, saints in the world, and divine sons and daughters of heaven and earth. So we just have to wake up to that reality and live in that reality. So one question that I often get is, when did I start doing this work? As some of you already know, maybe some of the new guests don't know, I'm a professional medium, and I travel all over. A lot of my work has ended up in Europe, but I also travel throughout the United States and the Caribbean, and I do workshops on different topics. Angels is the most popular, how to mobilize the spirit world to work with us. Yesterday we did one on gratitude. I believe that gratitude is the grease that gets the cogs going. Gratitude opens the gateway to abundance. Living in with a grateful heart and recognizing what we have rather than focusing on our problems, it can reframe everything. And then there's another one I do on forgiveness, which is really essential for healing. No matter what you've been through, if you can find a way to forgive, you can be healed. And I have a great site I recommend if you're interested in more. It's called The Forgiveness Project. And there are some amazing stories of people who have been through genocide, concentration camps, horrors that are hard for us to even conceive of. And they share how they could forgive because they wanted to be free. So back to the question of when did I start this work, I keep coming up with a different answer, because what I'm doing now, I've been doing for about 10 years. But before that, and I realized it went back to when I was a little child. When I was very small, before I was 4, our house was right at the border of a cemetery. And sometimes people would wander in the house without their bodies. And as a small child, usually the ones that are wandering around are pretty low and scary. And I remember asking my mother to make that man go away. And she looked right at him and she said, "There's no one there, dear." That's how you get rid of them. You look them straight in the eye and say, "You're not there." And my sister and I, later as adults, we were sharing some of the experiences we had in this house. And she thought it was a nightmare she had. I said, it's funny, I saw that same spirit. And I realized, early on that you're not supposed to acknowledge them. If you just ignore them or tell them they're not there, then, they'll go away. And as a teenager, I became interested in palmistry, and I started reading a lot of books. And there is a real science to palmistry. The lines in the hand have real meaning. And I was trying to learn to read them, but somehow I wasn't studying hard. But I discovered that when I would take someone's hand, I would start with the obvious things that I knew, and then floods of information would come. And I was just kind of ad-libbing, so I thought. But I realized now I was getting it from the spirit world. I was connecting to their spirit world. And then later on, when I was in Mexico, a friend took me to get my Turkish coffee read. And the woman reading it said, "You can do this." I said, "Oh, I wouldn't have any idea how to do it." She said, "I'll show you." And she showed me how to just look at the picture or look at the grounds and visualize a picture. And I found it was really a lot of fun. I didn't take it too seriously, but it was fun, and I did it for a lot of friends and family. And then later on, I took a meditation class from Philip Burley. Some of you might have read some of his books. He's an early member of our church. And I realized that I really had a gift to share with other people. And he gave me some guidance, but I didn't do a whole lot with it at that time. But a few years later, I began to study Reiki. Does anyone know what Reiki is in here? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's familiar. It's a type of energy healing, a hands-on energy healing. And you learn some techniques, and you get an initiation, like an opening, and you can transmit healing energy to people. And I started working with a Japanese sister. We were like partners. And I discovered that as we were doing a Reiki session, we weren't doing it professionally. We were just doing it for donations. We did it as a fundraiser, actually. I would just get floods of information about the person we were working with. And this was about 25 years ago. And then she left the area, and I didn't want to continue without her. But I continued to do readings, and I did them almost entirely over the phone. And many people were calling me, and my name was kind of getting passed from person to person. And those of you who know who Dame Wunim is, it's a leader in our church. She was very active as a medium and created a healing place in Korea. There was a prayer mountain. There is a prayer mountain there. And she created an entire system of healing where people could go and get physical and spiritual healing. And she said at one point, no mediums. So I stopped. And about 10 years ago, I'm pretty orthodox, actually. I'm actually, even though being a medium in our circles is a little bit odd, I'm actually pretty orthodox. I'm pretty mainstream. My husband has had a position of leadership. So it's kind of like being a political wife. I have to be very careful what I do. I don't want to cause problems anywhere. So I just stopped. And about 10 years ago, I visited a spiritualist church out of curiosity. And I was fascinated and started taking classes there. And made wonderful friends and got very active in the spiritualist church. And as I attended the classes, I realized that it was really time for me to use my gift again, that it was a way to offer healing to many people. That when people could understand some of the causes, maybe in the ancestry, of difficulties that they were having, they could come up with some solutions. Everybody has their personal responsibility to solve their situation, whether it's something that you've walked into yourself or something you've inherited from your ancestors. So I can't tell you what to do, but I can give you a map and say, well, I see you're trying to get to this place. Looks like there are a couple of good ways you could do this. I can make suggestions, but I can't do the work for you. You have to do it yourself. And sometimes the ideas are very simple, but simple and easy are not the same thing. Simple and easy are very different. Simple means you can see what to do, but easy is rarely the case. Even though the solution might be simple, it might be very difficult and require everything you've got. My frame or my filter is the divine principle. I think most of the people in this room have studied the divine principle. Some of you might be new to it. You can ask your host or your hostess if this is the first time you've heard of it. But from my paradigm, which is the divine principle, I interpret what I see, what I hear. Most of the people I work with in the Spiritualist Church believe in reincarnation. I don't. And when I tell them that, they're shocked. You don't believe in reincarnation? But it's so obvious. And I said, well, actually, I refer to Reverend Moon, Father Moon, as my teacher. You know, he was my guru for many years. He's in the spirit world. And he taught a theory called returning resurrection, which is, I said, it's very similar to reincarnation. So I don't try to convince anyone or get into, debates. But I can explain a lot of what's happening. And many times I'll see when I'm doing a reading for someone that someone is with them, not always an ancestor. Often, yes, of course, the ancestors are obvious because problems and gifts both run in family lines. It's like a chain. So sometimes there's a special gift that might take a few generations to really be fully manifested. But like a seed, it will be passed on. I had a reading yesterday when I saw someone with a really extraordinary gift. And my readings are anonymous, so I won't tell you who it is or what it is, but time will tell and you will see. But that gift had been incubating through generations. And the circumstances are right now so that it can fully manifest. And sometimes there's a problem that goes from generation to generation. And each generation works on it like chipping away at stone until finally the whole thing just cracks and it breaks open and somebody can put it to rest once and forever. Now, I believe, Tim encouraged me to share this with you, we all have spiritual senses. The difference in me and some of you is that I've learned to listen. Now, one of the things, I did get training, in the Spiritualist Church. Very specific. There is a etiquette to being a medium, and there are ethics to being a medium. And there are also techniques. So just like if you're a singer, you might have a great natural gift, but if you have no training and you don't know the technique, you can strain your voice, you can maybe never develop your full potential. So the ability and the training go hand in hand to maximize your use of your gift. The first thing that I had to learn was to listen. And one of the first rules in mediumship is give what you get. Don't filter, don't edit, give what you get. And sometimes what I get seems ludicrous. I think if I say that, they're going to think I'm making fun of them, I'm making light of their situation. But I learned just spit it out, give what you get. And I was always surprised by the reaction because sometimes it meant nothing to me, but it was very meaningful to the person who received it. Give what you get. Another thing I realized I would do, I would be told something, and I would cancel it with my logical mind. In the West, we live very much in the head, and the center of the soul is the heart. So as we learn to live a more heart-centered life, we will naturally open more spiritually. Now, in my early years in the church, being spiritually open was seen as a terrible handicap. It was seen as a real obstacle to personal development. It was looked at as dangerous because if you don't have the spiritual maturity, or you don't understand the rules of engagement, which I call the divine principle, you can be swept here, swept there, and just be carried off on the wind. So when people were spiritually open and would hear from the spirit world, we would do everything we could to shut it down. But it's a different time we live in. And the merit of the age has advanced tremendously. I've been involved in the church for almost a half a century. So hopefully I've had some growth in that time. I'm a grandmother, and I married a man who had an existing family. So from my husband, I have 22 great-grandchildren. So we have 20 grandchildren combined. We're a blended family. I had one child, he had 4, and we added 5 more. So we have a total of 10 children, 20 grandchildren, 22 great-grandchildren. And anyone who's even had one child knows that that's where growth occurs, is in the family. Even if you're a newlywed and you have no children, marriage is a really different experience from being single. You know, it's in the family relationships where real growth takes place. Husband and wife, parent and child. Grandparents are it's like a resting spot. Someone said to me once, grandchildren are the reward you get for not killing your teenagers. And anyone who's raised teenagers can really relate to that. So I'm in the rewarding phase of my life, and the nice thing about being a grandparent is you don't have to discipline your grandchildren. You don't have to feed them, educate them, house them. You can just spoil them. You can take them to Disneyland, or you can take them to the park, and you can just sit and read stories. And when you're tired, you say, okay, bye-bye. And I have grandchildren scattered around, so one of them is in Germany, so that keeps pulling me back to Europe. I have to come to Germany to see him. And he's really delightful, as everyone's is anyone here a grandparent? I know you are, okay. Your grandchildren are like the second coming. You know, every mother feels that when she holds her firstborn child. You enter into a whole new realm of the heart. But when you become a grandparent, you didn't know that this room existed in the heavenly mansion. It's a whole new realm of love. And in the spirit world, the good thing is we get to be with everybody. Our grandparents and our great-grandparents and the people we haven't yet met who have been maybe very active in our lives. Many times I see that great-grandparents will accompany a child as a protecting spirit, as we call them guides, a guide or a teacher. They haven't been in the spirit world very long sometimes when the child is born, but many times I'll see a great-grandparent will take a very special interest and walk with the child. Maybe they have the same talent. Maybe they're dealing with the same ancestral problem. But these people, even though we didn't meet them in our physical lives, they love us very much and they're very close to us. Another question I get often is, what's the difference between our angels and our ancestors? And to that I say, I have good news. They're all playing on the same team. There's no competition. The angels are a different species, like cats and dogs. They both make great pets, but they're different. So angels are spiritual beings who have never had a physical experience, and the huge advantage that they have over our ancestors is the heavenly angels never fell. So they have no fallen nature. Now we know there's another group of angels. It says in the Bible 1/3 of the angels fell with Satan. And they're not that hard to avoid. They are attracted to our fallen nature. Ego is a big one. They love big egos. And resentment, that's like sweet perfume to them. Resentment, ego, anger, the 7 deadly sins. Look at this list of the 7 deadly sins, and if that's what you're broadcasting, you will attract spirits on that level, and they will be very happy to help you get revenge, or very happy to do whatever it is that you're thinking about. Now, if you are really seeking to liberate your own heart of all resentment, of anger, of whatever your personal issues are, as you strive for that, you will attract the spirit world on that level. So your motivation is everything. And the nice thing about motivation is even if you make the wrong turn, but you have the correct motivation, very quickly, like GPS, will say, okay, make a U-turn, and the angels can work with us based on our motivation. That's critical. So it's okay to ask for help. Some of us have been trained to think, I've got to do it myself. But I think that's, if you've ever had a toddler, a 2-year-old says, no, I'll do it, and you know, they can't do it. They want to tie their shoes, but they don't yet have the dexterity. They're not ready to do it. So you wait and let them try, and then you do it for them. So we're sometimes like that. We think that we can do it all alone. Well, guess what? We can't. But God has provided so much help for us with our angels and our ancestors. Now, this is another commercial plug. I am a fanatic believer in Changpyang. And when I do readings, it's very apparent who has done this work because they have so much help around them. Things are just easier, clearer. I have a friend who was very against this providence, didn't believe in it, thought it was bogus, not real. And she went into the spirit world last year, and her husband asked me to do a reading, and she came through loud and clear and said, I was wrong. She said, please, please do it. And fortunately, the Changpyang team was traveling around, so he got very serious. And the next time we did a reading, she was having a picnic with all kinds of family members. And she was very happy that he had listened to her because she didn't believe it and she refused to do it. But when she got to the spirit world, she realized, wow, it is very beneficial. Now, some people will say, oh, it's like St. Peter's, building, St. Peter's with indulgences. And, actually it is a little bit. We're building Changpyang with these funds. But if you've been to Changpyang, I feel that's the best investment I can make with my money. I was in Changpyang about 15 years ago. I was very close to dying. And I went to many doctors. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. And I kept having the symptoms of a heart attack, but I wasn't having heart attacks because there are physical markers that will show certain enzymes that will be present. And my heart was clear. I had no blockages. And I realized this is spiritual. And I better get myself to Changpyang before I wake up in the spirit world. And I went to Changpyang, and I was so physically debilitated that I needed physical treatment as well. But after I could get in touch with my resentment. And I was able to release it and be relieved of it in Changpyang. And those problems are just a distant memory. I also got a lot of help at the hospital. So I'm so grateful. I feel like I owe my life. I wouldn't be standing here talking to you if I hadn't had the opportunity to go to Changpyang. And also, I do see in my family the difference. My husband and I mortgaged our house. We got a new mortgage that will never be paid in our lifetime. It's 30-year mortgage. So let's see, that would make me about 92 when we pay it off. I'm not sure I'll be here, and I'm quite sure I won't have the income to make the payments, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But after we did that, I could see a very subtle, very gradual change in our financial fortune. I had a new business opportunity, a business that I already had, but I was able to take it to a whole new level. And it became highly productive and very profitable. So until this point, every month we've been able to pay the mortgage. And I say that I have strangers paying my mortgage. We rent rooms out in the house because our kids are all gone. We have a huge house that was originally, we originally got it as a center. It was a rented house. The landlord died without a will. His family said it's such a mess legally, we don't want to deal with it. And we ended up buying the house from the city by paying the back taxes. We paid about 5% of the real value of the house. So it was just a gift from heaven. And now it's income producing. So there's enough money coming in from the renters to pay the mortgage. So I would encourage you, I don't know, has the Chungkyung team already been to Stockholm? I know they're going to be in Krakow next week and then Paris the week after. But when they come, reasonably close, I really encourage you to go. It is the best investment you can possibly make. You didn't think you were going to get so many commercials, did you? Chungkyung, Kingmaker. But we have, and I encourage everyone in this room, there are 3 ways that you can give. Of course, as you know, I'm also a fanatic about tithing. It's right in the book of Malachi that God says if you're not tithing, you're robbing God. Tithing means you give 10% that you offer to heaven. And it's something, no matter how difficult our circumstances were, I looked at it like my heavenly tax. And if you don't pay your taxes anywhere in the world, you get problems. So I thought, all right, I'll pay my tithe. But I also believe in give a little extra. If it's 100 kroner. Pick a cause that you love. And anyone who's working to build a kingdom on earth, working with the elderly, working with children, working with lost pets, whatever moves your heart. It can be medical research. It can be feeding programs in the third world. But give something. Give of your time, your treasure, and your talent. And we all have different financial realities, but we all have 24 hours a day. We all have the same amount of time. Everybody can give some of their time away. And everyone has a talent. Whatever your talent is, you can share that talent with someone else. So we all have a way to give. We all have a way to give. And I encourage you, the more you give, your time, your treasure, meaning money, your talent, whatever ability you have, the more you will see blessings flooding into your life. In the spiritual community, we have a saying, the universe abhors a vacuum. So if you create an empty space, if you dig deep, it will get refilled. I have one quick testimony and then I'll finish. I was recently in Czech Republic, and as you know, the economic level of Eastern Europe is much lower than Western Europe. And a blessed family there gave me a really large donation. And I was so moved because it was already in dollars. I could see she's been saving this money little by little for something special. And she gave it with such a joyful heart. She laughed and said, I really believe in what you're doing. And I want to buy books for the library, because when a child has a book, he can be taken to another reality. And she said, and anyway, I know I'll get it back. And I was so touched by her faith, because this probably represented a month's income. It was by Czech standards, it was and even by international standards, it was one of the larger, wasn't the largest, but it was a large donation. But the joy that she gave it with, I thought, oh, she's used to this. She knows how this works. So find something you can do for your community. I hope all of you are active in your faith community. That's the best place to start. But find something that lights you up. And if you know something about your ancestry, it's always good to do something to repair what they did. In my personal case, I know that my ancestors were pioneers. They came across the United States and moved the Indians out of the way. It was a genocide. So I give a small donation every month. I've been doing it more than 10 years to an Indian school. So if you know something about some of your ancestral mistakes, even a very small amount given with a grateful heart can really move the spirit world. So I invite you, give your time, your treasure, your talent. If you want to open your spiritual senses, listen. Ask Heavenly Parent and listen to the answer that you get. I encourage meditation. We're big on prayer. When I say meditation and prayer are like a pair of shoes, which one is more important? If you walk with one shoe, one foot's going to be pretty sore. So prayer is speaking to God. Meditation is just getting quiet and listening. And there are many ways you can do it. You can take a class, you can journal. Just write down whatever God is inspiring you. But learn to listen, because the merit of the age is tremendous. The spirit world is very close. Many of the darker forces have been swept away, and spiritual help is right there at our fingertips. We just have to ask. Just ask, that's all. And it will be there. And don't have fear. There's nothing to be afraid of. You're spiritually mature people, and you're not trying to do harm to anyone. You're trying to do good. You're trying to save your nation. Trying to, make your community thrive. You're trying to serve your neighbors. So that's the kind of help you'll attract. Thank you very much. I look forward to a future visit, whenever that might be. And if you would like a reading, please see Tim. I told him he's my gatekeeper for Sweden. And I want to thank Inge-Marie, who made it all possible. And thank you all for bearing with me. Okay, how do I turn this off?